Yo, what's going on YouTube? In today's video, we're just gonna go over Blue Yellow Ace a little bit more and just kind of sort of explain how to play him and what the overall strategy is. And yeah, like, comment, subscribe. So to start off, we're just gonna brush through the deck real quick. We're running 4 of the Dark Searcher. We're running 4 of the Event Searcher for the Little Brothers. We are still running 3, I love you. Thank you for loving me. I think I'm gonna take down 1 event searcher of this to go up 1 event searcher of this, because this is actually, I don't know, it's complicated. They're both very useful. It's very hard to kind of sort of find space for both. I'm really trying to work out my ratios myself, but this is kind of sort of where I'm at right now. Running 4 of the baby ace, 4 of the blocker ace, 4 of the rush ace, just because like ace is really just like the card that you want to play out of the deck. Out of all the your 2 brothers, you really want to play your aces the most. After playing your aces, you really want to establish this Luffy. This Luffy is like a real big MVP of the deck because of his AK swing and leader ability, and and just being able to just go ahead and draw you a card. It's really big. Rocket Luffy, I don't find myself using him as often as I do this Luffy, simply because of his buff. You're running 4 of the baby Luffy. And the reason why I'm so attached to the Luffys in here is because of the Ivankov. We run 3 Ivankov. I've been trying to figure out the ratio for this Ivankov as well, but 3 is what I have. 4 isn't so bad because it's essentially the Hiyori of the deck. So pretty much it just allows you to play your babies from hand. Speaking of which, we're playing 4 Hiyori. Playing 3 of the blocker Whitebeard card. I was playing this at 4, but I found it is really good for helping you set up leader, but you still need 7 Dawn total to be able to use him effectively for a turn. You still use him to just set up your leader ability, but like I said, it's still 7 Dawn if you want to use him, leader, and a baby in a turn. As opposed to with Ivankov, it's just 5 Dawn to be able to use the Ivankov and a baby in a turn. So that's one of the reasons why you play 3 Ivankov, because it helps so that you're not having to rely on leader ability as much, so that you don't have to always constantly have to have the 2 Dawn on leader. You can delegate that 2 Dawn somewhere else. And he's a 4K, so you can swing with him too in small niche situations where you need to swing with him. Playing 3 Flampe. The 3 Flampe is actually going to change to 3 Sabo, the promo Sabo, once the promo Sabo comes out, just because it's a searchable 2K for the deck, and that's just a little bit more versatile for you, especially since sometimes you just really need that in this deck, because most of the time your leader is going to be 7, and most of the time your opponent's going to be swinging 7 or 8 at you, so having that additional 2K to go to that 9 is really nice. We're playing 2 of the pudding, obviously because pudding is pudding, and because you're going to find your opponent oftenly has a large hand size because you're swinging at them high and they're just hoping to counter out heavy in the end game. So you can heavy punish them with the pudding. And like I said, this deck has a lot of draw power, so you're 9 times out of 10 CDs. And then we're playing the 1 Red Rock and the 1 Bull Hancock. The reason why I took out the Gravity Blades, and I understand that Luffy, Black Yellow Luffy, is going to be a lot bigger coming up, so I might actually put the 2 Gravity Blades. I might put the Gravity Blades back in, but essentially what I wanted was a larger body that could swing high and potentially stop an attack, but I also want the ability to continue to remove a card off a board, especially like with Jack running around. Jack is actually just really good for black, and it's really hard to remove off the board. So Red Rock just allows you to be able to get that off a board easily, and Boa allows you to just stun one of your opponent's attacks so that you just don't die the next turn. You can actually increase the Boas to 2. You can swap out one of these Red Rocks for another Boa, but again, the Jack being very relevant in this meta is the only reason that I suggest running the Red Rock. Or else I say run to Boa, because having that body along with the big body leader, along with the 7K swing with the Rusher, or even an 8K swing with your Luffy, is very, very powerful. And it's one of the reasons that the deck just does so well. But we're just going to go over some matchups and some how to and what you want to do, opening hands that you want to see, and so not one blah 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 blah. All right, so we're just gonna get shuffled up real quick, just gonna go ahead and do a little bit of power shuffling. Everything's still kind of mixed up, so we might want to shuffle a little bit harder just to make sure we get all out of the blue and whatnot. There are some nice runner-up cards I was considering playing. This Esnick, this Viola blocker are some really good cards to have in the deck. But ultimately, I don't want to say that they don't necessarily do anything. They just, I mean, the Viola blocker is still very good. It's still very versatile. I wouldn't knock playing this, especially since it just essentially can give you a free life. But the way that the deck is structured now, I think that it just works well as is. So, opening hands, what you generally want to see, ideally, is like a brother, a little brother, a big brother, and something to adjust your life, or adjust the top of your top deck. So ideally, if you're going first, you want to open up with one of the 2-3 cost blockers that you have. Because essentially you can't really use this leader ability until, or gain the benefit of the leader ability until 5 down turn. So you really want to open up with one of these two on 3 down turn to be able to set up. And like I said, you want to open up with like any kind of combination of any of your brothers, or something of the sort. So let's just say that you don't have any brothers, and this is in your hand. Or even if you want to say like this is your hand, this is a good hand to have. This is a fine hand to open up with. You don't have a whole lot going for you, but you're also not super far behind. Preferably, you'd like to have a brother, the other brother, the blue ace, because it just allows you to continue setting up for leader skill whenever you do see that you have a brother and the ability to use leader skill. So. Like I said, this was probably be like an ideal opener for me, as far as I've been playtesting the deck and going on, because for multiple reasons. If you're going second, this is a good opener because essentially if you hit a brother, you have these two, so it doesn't matter what brother you hit, you just want to make sure that you hit something. Even if you're going first, like I said, if you're going first, then you have these two, which again allow you to set up either one of the brothers in your hand so that you can use them. Or on 3 down turn, me personally, I would probably play this first just to set up. I wouldn't play the Ivankov because you can play the Ivankov, but then you have to early block with the Ivankov because you don't want to lose the life because you have the life set up to be able to use. But I also would rather wait a turn to try and at least use leader ability so that I'm not trashing a life unless I have a rush ace. This is more so whenever your opponent hits you first and then you're on 5 down turn, you're at 4 life, you can then play this Ivankov to put an ace into the top of your life, and then your ace is live that turn. That's more so what you want to use the Ivankov for. And it's like I said, when you see something like that, that's what you want to wait to set up because that's essentially what it's there for. That's why I say that the deck plays really good at 2 life. You have to forgive me if I'm explaining all of this horribly. I'm not super good with the whole how to play a deck thing. I'm just trying to give you a just idea of what you're trying to achieve and what you want to do so that you can go ahead and expand from there. But basically, like I say, these are like the cards that you want to open up with. Generally speaking, you want to, like I say, use the Ivankov more so that you can dawn manage a little bit better, so that you don't have to go into, like I say, the 7 dawn turn with this as opposed to a 5 dawn turn with this. Also, this deck does get a little bit better with the release of the structure decks. I know it's super taboo, but the Teach actually does work really, really good in this deck because he'll allow you to attach 2 dawn and set up for leader skill. Just a little tidbit for this deck. As I said earlier, with your searchers, you want to be using the searchers mostly to try and just find babies, or just to get bigs for setup for these two. Like I say, if you have babies and you want to find bigs, to like I say, go ahead and do your setup so that you can adjust them and play them as so. But mostly you want to prioritize finding baby aces because they're the most relevant card you have. Baby Luffy's are super relevant. Don't get me wrong, baby Luffy's are super useful, but this is just so much more relevant for the match because both the aces set up for leader ability tremendously. So like I said, you want to try and get those on board before you get the you want to try and find the baby aces before you try and find baby Luffy's, or you try and find adult Luffy's or adult aces, because of, like I said, the synergy that the deck runs. It really thrives whenever you get to play an ace, because being able to swing 7 with the character ace and 7 with leader, and then your opponent stuck with they have to get rid of a 7k body character, or they can try and swing 7k into leader. More times out of 10, they're gonna try and swing into the body. It's not often they'll try and swing into your life, because it doesn't do anything to benefit your opponent, especially when you're still applying pressure to them with the 7 cost ace. So, like I say, trying to find baby aces is a lot more important because it's just always going to allow you to be able to set up. um, the one of the biggest caveats about this deck is that it has such a really great way it can play. So because of the fact that you are running the puddings, it does put your opponent in a position to where they can't just hoard cards in their hand because they get hard punished by pudding. So you really want to just save your puddings until like late game, because like they're going that's when they're going to come in handy, is when your opponent's at like 2 life, or they just allowed themselves to go down in life because they just want to hoard cards in there because they're just like, oh, I'm just going to block big for the end because it just seems like he's going to go big for the end. Putting hard punishes is that. That's why you run the pudding. Also, it's good for the brother matchup for Luffy. Being able to reduce their hand size is really going to help you a lot in your matchup. You are, like I say, for the most part, you will be a 7k base leader, but they'll probably be like a 9 base leader with an 11k swing. That's usually how they do it, is 11 with lead, 9k base. Um, it'd be really hard for you to match that with this leader because they can recycle their babies and you can't. So with that aspect, it does become difficult. So what you really want to be doing in that matchup is you really want to try and get like your full Hancocks out, and instead of actually prioritizing the ace, you do want to try and play the rush ace because you can't easily make him a 9, but you actually want to prioritize the Luffy instead, and that's because you can easily make him an 8 and just attach Don to him and just start swinging him into lead. Like I say, you can attach 2 to this and have this swing, attach 1 to this and have this swing, use his skill, attach 1 to him, have him swing, and like your opponent's only responses are like their Gecko Morias, or their Luffy's themselves, or even their Rush Aces. But but again, having those high value swings against that deck is really what's going to help you, and having your leader ability be high is also what's really going to help you. Obviously, you want to do like the same strategy you usually do with other decks. You just kind of sort of want to form board first before you just start going heavy into their life, and just kind of sort of put them in a position where, like, okay, you have to start dropping your cards now to start taking your own life, so that I'm not taking your life. You have to do it so that, you know what I'm saying, it's more on a I'm going to swing at you when I'm ready to swing at you, so that you're forced to use all your cards to get all the value that you need to get. And like I said, with pudding and all these high K swings that you'll have, if they don't have a blocker, you'll very easily just run them over. If they're like unprepared in that aspect of it, like obviously if they just don't know how to play against the deck. The black matchup is very difficult. It's one of those matchups to where, like, once they get down to Gecko Moria, it just becomes extremely difficult to win. Not because of Gecko Moria or anything like that, but more so just because of the blockers and them just having a sea of blockers. But that's where like that's why I say like the Boa Hancock and the Luffy comes in play. Like it's gonna hard to make character cards like these stick, but like Ace, you'll just get immediate value out of him. Luffy, you'll want to get value out of him, but again, it'd be hard to make him stick. Boa, same thing. You just want to get value out of her, but it'd be hard to make her stick. You want to really prioritize the Jack in that matchup. Jack is just so good in Lucci that like you just want that card off the board. That's why I say you play the one Red Rock as opposed to the two Bull Hancock, is because like even if you summon a Bull Hancock, if they have the ability to reduce her just 3 levels, then she's out of there. Same thing with Luffy. They just have the ability to reduce him 2 levels, and that's one with leader ability. So all they need is an event or something to be able to do that. And like I said, the cards are out of there. So again, that's why I said the one Red Rock just to deal with the Jack, and this can deal with everything else. And pudding pretty much sews everything else up for you. You want to, like I said, you want to prioritize the smalls. You want to see your bigs. Your bigs are just going to come to you by way of leader ability. So you don't, like I say, you don't really need to prioritize adding those to your hand unless you don't want them to be bottom decked. But that's the beauty of the event, is that like you don't have to have that kind of like toss up with yourself on like what you want to add. It just kind of sort of lets you keep everything that you want to see. Green matchup can be rough because they will rest all of your blockers. But if you're a 7K base leader for a majority of the game, then that's fine. They'll have to either spend the rest of the game swinging at you or swinging at your blockers, which Bonnie mostly wants to swing at you, keep you from having characters on board, and just kind of sort of starve you out, kind of sort of like that. But Bonnie will have an issue doing that in this deck. This deck does struggle because you do have to basically use leader ability and place the creature on board in advance. So with that, it does make it a little bit harder to be able to get the value out of your like baby moves, because you essentially have to swing with leader before you can get the value out of those. So you just have a 7K base swing instead of 9. But like that's the best workaround with that, is that you just swing with lead first and then activate ability to get the character on board afterwards. But aside from that, like it's one of those situations, like I say, you can get the ace and swing with the 7K base leader, and then you have to swing with ace and just have the benefit of your defense and not have the benefit of the high value swing. Like I say, cards. Like I say, Bonnie's just Bonnie. Carrot isn't as difficult as Bonnie, but it's Carrot, so you don't have to worry about it as much. The deck is so aggressive that pretty much every other deck, aside from Reiju, is just something you can just actually easily run over. But even Reiju isn't a problem. Reiju just has to, if Reiju just sees everything, then yeah, they see everything. But for the most part, if you can keep your leader consistently at 7, they'll only have their EGG to swing at you, and you'll have blockers as well. And because like Reiju doesn't have high board removal, you'll mostly keep your blockers on board. Like if the Reiju player does play Gravity Blade, then yeah, you can lose your cards to Gravity Blade. But most Reiju players don't play Gravity Blade, or they don't have enough Dawn to play Gravity Blade because character abilities and so on and so forth. And they got to build up to that, and it takes them a little longer to do so. So, like I say, you're mostly be able to run into that deck and pretty much go into it pretty easily. But aside from that, that's pretty much it. Like I say, all of the other matchups I can think of aren't too bad. Black is just your worst matchup, just simply because it's black and just has the ability just to remove all of your characters off a board. But like I said, you just want to try and prioritize summoning your aces and getting the max value out of your rush aces, and just try and find, like I say, puddings to try and punish them for having high hand count. And yeah, like that's the most I can come up with. So